One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rookie Life Podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us today for episode number 5. We just started a new series called Take Care of Your Home, and today's episode is focused on organization. Yes, organizing all the things, everything in the house. So have y'all seen those dramatic before and after pictures? I'm sure you're thinking about them now. The ones where the closet, you can't even walk in, you can't even shove the door open, or the pantry where it seems like everything is going to collapse on you if you take one single tiny thing out, and then someone snaps their fingers and magically everything looks neat and tidy with everything in its place. Well, today I'm going to be interviewing someone who does just that regularly and has an absolute blast creating clarity out of chaos. Our guest is a certified professional organizer, and I've seen how dramatic some of her transformations can be. I cannot wait to share her story with you today. But if you're wondering what else we are about here at The Rookie Life, well, let me tell you. We focus on what it means to start something new, even when we have no idea where to begin, how to develop new skills in all areas of our lives, and how to find that it factor that'll keep us motivated every single day. So join us as we dive headfirst into what it means to be a rookie. Come on, rookies. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, rookies. Welcome to episode number 5. We're continuing our series, Take Care of Your Home, and I'm really excited about today's interview. I'm going to introduce you to my dear sweet friend, Liz Ensign, whom I've known for many, many years, and someone I've literally laughed with too many times to count. She recently started her own organizing company, Pretty Neat Professional Organizing, and she's really hit the ground running with it. But let me give you a little bit more of her background. She received her bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of North Texas in 2003, where she graduated first in her class out of the psychology majors that year. Pair that with over 15 years of professional experience ranging from marketing and web design to community mental health care, and she's also has coursework from the National Association of Professional Organizers. She definitely knows how to deal with the ins and outs of getting a space in order, whether it's your home, your office, your garage, or even just a drawer in your bathroom. She puts every ounce of effort into making a space look better after she's done with it. I encourage you to go check out our previous episode on decluttering so you can be totally prepared when the time comes to do some serious organizing. Rookies, I'm so excited to jump straight into this interview that will hopefully give you the momentum, guidance, and encouragement you need to get your house in order once and for all. So without further ado, here is my interview with our pro organizer, Liz. Hey, Rookie Life Podcast. I am here with Liz Ensign, and I kind of just want to deep dive into the obvious question. How did you get started in personal organization? And I guess kind of just what's your story? If you could give us a snapshot of your business and your life, kind of how you got into what you're doing today.
I started doing professional organization in 2015, and really I have to give the credit to my mother. She's really kind of how I started doing this work. I had gone over to her house, and every cabinet that I opened, or closet, or whatever, drawer, I opened, it was totally full. I mean, just to the brim, and just stuff everywhere. And she couldn't find anything. And I was like, okay, Mother, said, we have got to do something about this, because she doesn't throw things away and things accumulate. So anyways, I was just like, I'm going to start coming over here in the afternoons when I get off work, and we're going to put a handle on all this. So I did. And, she was happy with it or whatever. Well, she goes to, a baby shower and sees another lady that she knew, and she was talking to her and saying, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what Liz did, at my house, da, da, da. And the lady goes, can she come to my house tomorrow?
Yes.
And so anyways, that's really how I got started. I organized for that lady, and then from there, another woman heard about what I was doing, and then I went and worked for her, and then so it's really just gone from there. So, but
That's great.
I always tell people this is the first job that I've had that I actually love. It's not a drag, I guess you could say. I like to go to work. So
yeah, for sure. Especially for sure. When you're doing something that you love, it's not work to you. You're just having fun organizing people's stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So that's a little bit how you got started. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, what it takes to be a professional organizer. So is your title actually professional organizer, personal organizer? I guess I've heard a lot of different terms. So what is it exactly that you do?
Yeah, no, my title would be professional organizer. I also work as a personal assistant too, which is kind of like organizing, but more so of business aspects of home businesses and things like that. Mm-hmm. Helping people with, more kind of filing and scheduling, repairs and things like that, for them, stuff that they don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
They let me deal with it for them. So, but I'm mainly the organizing is my main focus. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've kind of reached out to our Facebook group and asked them hey, I'm going to be talking to someone whose specialty is organizing, and I know all of us could use help in some aspect in our houses, in our lives. So I have some real life scenario questions that I just kind of wanted to dive right into, because some of these, I'm not going to tell you which ones, but some of them are personally mine. So, so I just want to ask
girl.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so, say I'm someone who's lived in a house for 10 plus years and I want to get into this whole decluttering and organizing, but I'm just absolutely overwhelmed. It seems like way too much and it's just an insurmountable task and I can't do it. So, what's your best advice to that person and where should they start? What's the baby step just to get going?
Well, what I would do is think about the areas in your home and like I would rank them or think about, what areas do you use the most? Like what rooms, what spaces, and and start at those places first. Because I mean, in a lot of cases, all of the clutter and everything creates frustration for people.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were with the organizing, you want to relieve some of this kind of like stressed out feeling or whatever. So if you can make progress in the rooms that you're working in, you're doing stuff in, the most, then you're going to feel that, like, oh God, it just looks, you're going to feel that calm feeling um, quicker.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I always suggest to clients to think about areas that they are in and do things in, whether it's like they're with their kids, in that space, or if it's a kitchen, if that's kind of like your home base. I mean, try to relieve the clutter and the overwhelming feeling or whatever in those spaces first, because it will make you feel better the
Yeah,
quickest,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like a small win and then that just kind of keeps the ball rolling because it feels better.
Yeah, and
Okay.
also one other thing that I've used before is like if you picture your house as like the face of a clock,
Mhm.
and you start at 12, like section the house or the room off into like one tick of the hand over. So, or like, from 12 to 1, that space, that little sliver, focus on that area,
That's
and then
great.
tackle that small space. And then once you're done with that, then you move another, you know, space over. So like you do from the 1 to the 2, so it's not so overwhelming with like trying to do the whole thing at once. So,
Yeah. That's great. I've never heard that analogy before, and that totally I'm just sitting here thinking about my own house. Like I'm like ticking it off, and I'm like, oh, that definitely, because it kind of puts your blinders up, and you don't
uh-huh.
see everything everywhere else. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on this one space.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's also helpful to like say like a time limit too, because that way you can like, okay, I'm going to do this even if it's like for 10 minutes. I mean, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish if you just focus and make yourself do it for 10 minutes.
yeah.
You'll see progress even if it's a short period of time. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you actually touched on a few words. You were like saying, frustrated and then the stress of it and everything. And you and I were actually talking before we hopped on the call, but about your degree in psychology. Really, you were surprised at how much that plays, into your role now. So can you kind of talk about what you've learned in your experiences with that?
yeah, I mean, whenever I go in and I'm working with a client, I try to identify like how they interact, or what's their behavior, their daily behavior or routine in in their space. So as far as like when it comes to where to, if we're reorganizing a space or like the kitchen or the bathroom or whatever, like where are they going to be needing certain things, and then based on what they do, if they sort through their mail, like right at the front of the kitchen or whatever, well, they're probably going to need certain things related to that and like close to that space. So when it comes to placing items, once you've taken everything out, sorted everything, and then now you're figuring out where to put things back into cabinets or shelves or whatever, I really tried to pinpoint, what are they going to need in the space based on what they're going to be doing there. So, I mean, it even even comes down to, like, in certain situations, if I'm organizing someone's desk, well, this is going to sound crazy, but I mean, sometimes I'll ask them, are you left or right-handed? Okay, well, I'm not going to put all their pens in a drawer on the right side if they're left-handed. You know what I mean? So it's like it really goes into really what would be most convenient for a person, and what they're using the space for. Yeah, what's going to make it the easiest and most convenient for them. So
that's good. Like, I love the personal touch that you have to it. It sounds like, you really get in pretty deep with people. Like, okay, I'm trying to help you make this as, because you could do it how you want it all day, but it's not going to make them happy, you know, if they don't know where anything is either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, that's some of the work that I really enjoy, or what I enjoy most about the work is trying to kind of personalize what I do to be the most helpful for each person. Because you're right. I mean, like the client I meet with on Monday may be totally different than the person I meet with on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you really have to kind of gear what you're trying to do to what's going to work best for each individual. So that's fun for me. So
yeah, no, it sounds like you really enjoy what you do, and I'm so happy for you that you found something that you just love and you get this excited about, because it makes me excited to talk to you.
No, I really enjoy it. So,
well, this is okay. I will call myself out on this one, because this is something that is a personal example for me, but I'm sure it applies to more than just my realm of the world. But I have inherited 3 different sets of china from 3 different sets of relatives, okay? And I already have a set of dishes that I absolutely love. So what advice do you give to people who are dealing with very sentimental items and they're just reluctant to get rid of them, but I don't really just want them sitting in a box in my attic or my garage and worrying about them getting broken? So what's your advice on that?
Well, I mean, specifically to dishes, the best thing that you can do if you're wanting to store, like, especially china, like fragile pieces, safely, is they actually make special, like, containers. They're fabric containers, but they're padded. Mm-hmm. That like you put the dishes in, and then they have separators in between, and then they all zip up, and then you can take those and put them in either, whether it's in a closet or wherever, but wherever you put them, then I mean you can feel sure that they're not going to get broken or damaged or whatever. With dishes, you have to be really careful about. I mean, I would never put, especially like china, I would never store that in an attic or a garage, just because I wouldn't want the heat
in Texas
to do anything. Yeah. It's like I'm real careful about that. But yeah, and those they I can't remember. I think they're called china protectors or whatever, but you can get them at Container Store. You can get them at Bed Bath & Beyond. I know that you can, there's a lot of places online, but if you're looking for just something, if you're going to be stacking a lot of dishes, especially plates or bowls, one thing that you can use if you don't have access to those storage cases are coffee filters.
Oh, that's a good idea.
If you take like just the normal regular standard size coffee filters, I usually use about like two to three, all like together, like put that in between each dish, and that will separate it enough and give it that protection to where they won't chip or or anything like that. But yeah, coffee filters work really well,
That's
for
good.
that.
Yeah.
So
We've moved so.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
And I think I still have one in a box, but our attic, I will say, it's temperature controlled. So I'm like, okay,
yes.
I was like, it's up there, but it's not hot. So
Yeah,
but still, I want to like figure out something, a way to creatively use it, or, I don't know. I got to figure something out with that. So, well,
yeah.
okay. My next question is, if we have, okay, I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this, but someone calls you and says, hey, I'm heading over. I'll be there in 10 minutes, and so you're like, oh man, my house is a wreck. It's crazy. So you start gathering stuff, and I personally shove it all into one closet, and then I'm like, I forget about it. And then a week later, I open the door, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So say I've organized my whole house, I've done the decluttering and everything, but how do you keep from the clutter kind of creeping back into your life slowly? I'm sure it's, not having bad habits like that, but, what's your advice for, just kind of keeping a balance with kids and just craziness going on?
Yeah. I mean, really, like to keep the things. Oh gosh, let's see. The best thing really that you can do is set aside a time each day to whether if something's out that needs to be picked up or whatever, like use that time to kind of get things back into shape.
Okay.
Now I will say this: it's not the easiest habit to get into, and I mean I will honestly say that applies to myself. I mean, I'm not immune to this, so but really, like you have to kind of train yourself to kind of wrap things up or put things back in the place, like pretty consistently, because otherwise if you wait too long, then it's going to get too much and you're going to be overwhelmed, and then you're just like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. And then the more you kind of let stuff remain kind of unkept, it's going to get worse, especially with kids.
Yes.
Yeah, kids are wonderful, and they're love kids. But I mean, I will say that most of the people that I work with, they deal with they just don't have the time to do things, because I mean, if you're dealing with kids coming and going and taking them to practice and then coming home and then homework and stuff, I mean, by the time you get all this stuff done that you need to get done for yourself, and then everything for the children, I mean, who the heck wants to pick up? You would just want to go like lay down,
Yes.
So I mean, it's and I mean, so that in those cases it would be like really trying to think of, okay, when do I have like 5 minutes to where the kids are they're occupied, they're doing their own thing, and I'm not just totally worn out, that I could take that time to, just kind of pick up, put things back where they need to be, and kind of keep up with the organizing and stuff like that during those little pockets of time. And I mean, it doesn't have to be big, big pieces of time that you're dealing with. I mean, just, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, just kind of keep up with keeping things, picked up and then put where they need to be or whatever. That's probably the easiest thing and the most effective to keeping things, like once they are organized, say like keeping them that way.
Yeah, well, it makes me feel better to hear you say I'm not the only one.
Oh, no. Yeah,
I'm like,
I always say it's like, I am a professional organizer, but I deal with these same problems. Like I'm great, working with other people, but that doesn't mean that, if you walked into my house, that it would be like some showcase. I mean, no.
Yeah.
So I struggle with the same things.
Yeah. Did y'all hear that? Okay. See, it's not just you. It's not just me. It's everyone. We all deal with these problems.
Yeah, including me. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a question that does come directly from someone on our Facebook group. And this is my cousin, actually. She has a kid who is about to be going off to college.
Uh-huh.
And, school is fast approaching for everyone, too. And what are some of your tips for, I guess, those small spaces like a dorm or a kid's bedroom or something like that, where kids kind of have like a black hole, like under their beds or in their closets? Like what is your best advice? I guess where to start, and then how to, I don't know if train is the right word, but, kind of guide them into developing healthy, habits as far as putting their stuff away.
Okay. Well, like in the situation of going off to college, if they're going to be in like a dorm room, like when you're thinking about what to send them off with, I mean, I would really take a good look at all of their stuff, even their clothes. I mean, like you want to try to send them with just the necessities, because they're going to have a pretty small space, and the more stuff that they are trying to put into that space, it's just from the get-go, it's going to cause frustration. So like, I mean, as far as like even closet space, I mean, if they have, 20 pairs of jeans or something, you might not want to send them with all of those, because you're just asking for frustration and like how much, you just don't want to overload things. And then as far as like, oh gosh, as far as like looking for creative places to store things, I would go into that dorm room and look at any place that has like open space. So like under the beds, if there's, space under the beds, I would get the containers that have the pull-out drawers, and I would line the whole under the bed space with those containers with the drawers. They could pull out the whole length of the bed, and then use that space. Above the, like if there's a shelf above their closet space, that's another, you could get bins to where they could use that space and not just have one long open space as a shelf. You could break it up into like the little baskets and stuff. You could put socks in one, or, underwear in one. Just whatever you really are needing to use in those containers or in that space. But as far as like, oh goodness, like for instance, I remember when I moved to college, I had all of these photo albums. This, was back before, we had phones and cameras and then, computers all in one device. We actually took pictures and then went and got them printed out. Well, I wanted to take all these photo albums with me, and I just like, I don't, that's not what I needed there. That's, you leave those at home, that type of sentimental stuff. You need to train them, especially if they're going to be going away to school and you want them to be focused on, schoolwork. You don't need stuff like that. You leave that at home.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you can go through and just send them with just what they need and not overload, that would be a good place to start. So.
Well, that's great. I'm just sitting here. I'm picturing my college roommate my freshman year, and I'm sure she's just thinking, I wish Krystal would have heard this Because, oh my gosh, I was just a hot mess. I was such a hot mess. I mean, I went to school 4.5 hours away from home, and I was the kid that shoved everything into the closet whenever my parents would say, go clean your room. and like, I've always been that person up until honestly, like 5 or 6 years ago. That's still kind of how I clean. And then I finally like realized how to do all this stuff. And it's a practice. And it does get easier once you kind of get into your own rhythm and you know what you're doing, and just the number one thing that I was always taught is everything just needs a space.
Yep.
Like, one thing, it's got to have a place. Like if it doesn't have a space, get rid of it. Or
Yep.
put it in the attic, put it somewhere you don't have to see it every day, but just give something a space.
Yeah.
Well,
Everything has a home. And
yes.
whenever, like if you take something out of its home, you have to return it back to its home. It doesn't want to live out in the middle of nowhere. So it has to go back to its house.
I love that. I'm going to use that with the kids. Yeah, you don't want them floating around in the desert. You want to go to send them home, take them back home.
Yeah, they're homebodies. They like to be at their house.
Yes, I love that. Well, okay, so we're going to move into the next segment of the interview, and that's what I'm calling the Keeping It Real questions. So these are, they're not super crazy or anything. They're just kind of just a few fun questions that we ask all of our guests. So our first one is, what motivates you on days when things are super tough? And I always use the same metaphor with everyone. So you're running late, you spilled coffee on your pants, like everything's just kind of gone haywire. So what motivates you to keep going?
Oh gosh, on a day like, well, I don't know. In a situation like that, if I'm running late, I've spilt the coffee and all that stuff before, like when I arrive at the person's house, I try to take a minute and just find my Zen place. 'Cause I try to remind myself that, okay, I'm showing up at a person's house as a professional organizer. It's not going to be good if the organizer shows up and is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's all flustered. That's not the impression you want to make, Liz. So I try to keep that in mind. It's like, okay, you just have to shake this off, Liz, and get it together. So that's how I deal with kind of like the frustration before I get to work. Now, when I'm at work, if I am in a situation and I'm working and it's very frustrating, a common frustration that I deal with is, I guess if there's like, whenever I'm working with someone, I don't I'm not pushy when it comes to throwing things away. Mm-hmm. I feel like, if they want to throw things away, I'll help them do that. If they want to keep everything, I'm fine with that too. But there comes certain situations where you have way too much stuff and you're trying to find a way to fit it in a very confined space. Mm-hmm. And in those situations, like, and I've been there, oh my gosh. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, how in the world is this going to work? And I just tell myself, there is a way. There is a way that I can fit. No is not an option. Like, I have to figure out how to get all of this stuff in this space securely and for it to look pleasant, whenever the finished product is done. So, with that mindset, I just tell myself, like, you've got to do it. Like, there is no other option. So, and really like some of the most, I guess some of the work that I'm most proud of has come out of situations like that, like where I've been in the trenches going, oh my gosh. I was like, but then at the end, oh my gosh, I'll be so happy. I'm just like, as I look at it, I'm just like, oh,
I did it. I survived.
Yeah. And really, like in those moments, seeing the client's reaction whenever everything is done is extremely rewarding to me as well, because
Yes.
I mean, really, like I don't know. I just get a lot of personal gratification and reward, like knowing that I've been able to help them, feel at ease and, know where their things are at. And, I mean, it just makes me very happy. So,
Yes. Well, that's good. Like I said, I'm so happy for you that you found something that makes you so happy.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
well, my next question is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Oh, goodness. Well, okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've come to realize that I am. Um, and I mean, and oh gosh, I hear my sister's voice in my head, like right now. I heard saying, "Liz, OCD." Oh my gosh. But I mean, I think you kind of have to be in the type of work that I do, because I mean, I don't know, like as far as like the quality of work and that I produce, I feel like it's extremely important for it to be the best and the most helpful to that person that I can possibly do, because they're paying me to do this. I mean, this isn't like I'm coming over and saying, "Oh, I'll help you fold some clothes." I mean, these people are paying money to have a professional
Yeah.
come in and provide them with the service. So that to me, I'm very driven to make it the absolute best. Even, I mean, it sounds silly, but it's like if I'm folding sheets, when those sheets are done, boy, they're gonna look like they're out of the magazine.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Those are going to be the
So,
best folded sheets ever.
yeah, just whatever it is. I mean, like, because I feel like that's important, because it, like, again, it's like they're paying me to do this, so it's like
Yes.
I have to keep it at that level, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. And yeah, like you said, I think that takes a certain type of personality to achieve that kind of level of, visually just organized too, because I can't imagine someone being the opposite, who doesn't consider themselves a perfectionist, thinking like, oh, it's good enough, like,
yeah,
like
no, that mindset does not exist in Liz's world.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, speaking of that, so, kind of on the advice and, being a perfectionist and how you kind of see yourself, my next question is, what's the best advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh my. Um. Hmm. I mean, I think it would be to go into each situation as far as like professionally, because in the like throughout my career, as once I was out of college, I had a various different jobs and in different professions and all sorts of stuff. And I mean, I really think that there's always something, no matter what you're doing, you can always learn something that's useful, and then take that knowledge and apply it to whatever situation you may come into down the road. So, I mean, I don't know. It's really important to me to always, feel like I'm learning and growing as a person, as a professional. And so I think that my advice would be to myself to, look for those key pieces of information, knowledge that will be useful to you, no matter, if you're, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, no matter what job you're doing, no matter what task you're doing, no matter what situation you're in, look for those important pieces of knowledge that will help you down the road.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's great. No, and that's kind of a mindset that I've talked about a few times on the blog. It's just like you can learn from anything
Oh,
that you're
totally.
doing, you know, and I think that that's great. Yeah, I would definitely tell my younger self that too. Like, you may seem like, what is this? What's the point of all this?
Yeah, it's
You know,
like this is
situation.
absolutely ridiculous whenever you're like there. But yeah,
Yeah.
you may think back on that one day and be like, you know what? I remember when I was doing this. This is how they went about doing this, and okay, this is why. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
apply that to what I'm doing right now. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for being on the show today. And this, I guess, what else are you working on? Or is there a place where, you know, the audience can find you? I know that previously you had said that you have a Facebook page. So can you kind of tell us how we can find you on there?
yeah. I do have a business page on Facebook, and it's just let's see, it's just facebook.com / and pretty neat organizing. My business is Pretty Neat Professional Organizing. So, and I'm sure you could even search for my name if you can't remember the Pretty Neat, stuff. So, but yeah, and there's a lot of different photos of jobs that I've done, a lot of before and after photos, and then also a lot of completed projects. So yeah, those are clients like to see those just to kind of like see what I've done and be like, oh, okay, so I have this space in my house. Okay, obviously she knows what she's doing in the pantry. Okay, I feel confident in like asking her to organize my pantry or closet or so forth. So
Oh my gosh, but you know, and guys, I have been on her page and I've seen what she's done at her sister's house, and it's just a picture really is worth a million words in the case of organizing, you know, because you have the before and you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, but then you see the after and you're like, oh, but that looks so much better. Like, it just, you know, it makes you feel like, oh, that's what I want. I'm going to need you to come visit me down here in Houston and come
well,
help
I
me
will
out.
do it. I will do it. No problem.
Well, thank you so much, Liz, for coming on the show today. And I think that we've just covered some great stuff. And I will definitely put all your information in the show notes so people can find your Facebook page and get on there and like you. But
Yay.
thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks.
Y'all, I just love Liz so much. Like I said earlier, I've known her forever, and her personality and down-to-earth attitude really just brings a smile to my face. I loved hearing her so giddy throughout the entire interview, and I'm so thrilled for her that she's found a passion in helping other people organize their stuff. So please be sure to go onto Facebook and check out her Pretty Neat Organizing page. Her pictures are literally worth 1,000 words. Just the pantry pictures alone are so incredible. To look at the once was before and then to see the after, like, she just does amazing work, you guys. But just to recap what we covered, Liz reminded us to start with the most used areas of our homes first when we're trying to get organized. So don't get overwhelmed thinking you have to do the entire house in one day. Just start in a small space and work your way around, like the clock face. But a great example is, and I know I've mentioned this before, but we've moved 3 times in the past 4 years. And every time, my priority has always been we're getting the kitchen and the pantry organized first, and the master bedroom. We just need a place to eat and a place to sleep. Everything else can wait. All the toys can wait. The garage can wait. Just all that other stuff is just not as important. So start with one space at a time. But we also talked about the psychology of interacting with our spaces and how our behaviors play such a big role in our homes. She also helped us, or should I say me, figure out what to do with those sentimental items we just hold so dear to our hearts. And I'm glad that I have an action plan. And another thing that I need to add on my to-do list, I've got to get that china taken care of. But the number one takeaway was when Liz taught us that the act of organizing is mostly creating habits of putting things away every single day. So take a few minutes, even if it's only 5 to 10 every day, to put things back to where they belong. put things back in their homes. They're homebodies and they like to be at home. I'm totally going to tell my kids that. Don't let them go wandering out in no man's land. But y'all, this was so much fun. Feel free to jump over to krystalprofit.com. That's Krystal with a K, Profit with 2 F's and 2 T's, and check out the show notes for what we discussed today. And there's going to be the links for Liz's Facebook page. I'm so happy you joined us here today for the Rookie Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future episodes. There are some other really exciting things around the corner, and I cannot wait to share them with you. But also, feel free to rate and review the show. I'm going to be choosing random reviewers to receive some cool Rookie Life merchandise, and I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to get some really cool stuff. But that about does it for episode number 5. Stay tuned for next week's show, and remember, keep it up, rookies. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.